Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Black Eagles Podcast YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining us for another European preview. Today, I am joined by Álvaro Romeo to talk about our upcoming opponents in Europe, Athletic Club de Bilbao. But before we start talking about that, please don't forget to hit that like. Don't forget to leave a comment and especially subscribe to our channel for more content such as this. Álvaro, thank you very much for joining me today and to give us your insights on Athletic Club. Should I say Athletic Club? Is it Athletic Bilbao? I've always wondered because here in Belgium they always call them Athletic Bilbao.
Yes, look, in Spain people will call it colloquially Athletic de Bilbao or El Athletic, and Athletic Club is the official denomination of the team. So actually Athletic Club is absolutely fine.
Okay. Well, I've always learned to call them Athletic Club de Bilbao, but
as well.
In Belgium they say it like that, so that's just what I'm used to growing up. So these teams have met each other 3 times in the past. Beşiktaş only managed to win one of those games. That was the most recent encounter, but even that one is all the way back in, let me check here, it is in 2004. I actually watched that game. I remember watching it, John Carew scoring in that match at the old Inonu Stadium, 3-1 to Beşiktaş back then. But the previous 2 encounters were in the 80s, in 1985 to be exact. Bilbao won the first game in Istanbul 0-1. Oh, actually the first game in Bilbao 4-1, and then they also won the return leg 0-1. So the 2 teams have met each other in the past, but it's been a very long time, over 20 years since the last meetup. And of course, Athletic Club these days doing phenomenal. They're having a phenomenal season. I checked some interesting statistics before we started recording here, but they've only lost 4 times in total this season, one of which was just recently in the Super Cup. And other than that, they only lost against the leaders in the league, Atlético, who have won, I think, the last 15 games straight in all competitions, and then twice against Barcelona, including that one loss in the Super Cup, and against Girona, which was actually the last defeat for Athletic up until this Barcelona game, which was all the way back into October. In contrast to that, Beşiktaş have in that same time span only won like 3 or 4 matches. So there's a very stark contrast in terms of form. It's very impressive as well what Athletic accomplished as a team that is really working in almost with a self-induced foreign limit, something we talk about a lot in Turkey because foreign limit is something, a very big talking point there. How come Athletic are able to, year in, year out, compete at such a high level, even despite the fact that they limit themselves to local players only?
Well, you can look at it as a limitation, but I think that the philosophy is not only a limitation, but also leaves very clear that whoever has to play for Athletic Club Bilbao has to be committed 100%. And we shouldn't overlook the fact that many footballers of Athletic Club Bilbao, they are actually Athletic Bilbao fans, which means that they put an extra commitment, they have a sense of belonging. So that's why I'm saying that having the philosophy, yes, it can be a limit sometimes because you cannot access some of the best players in the world. Yes, it can be a limitation as well because sometimes if there is no good left back in the Basque country or in the market for Athletic Club Bilbao, in their limited market, they will have to use the left back that is available in the Basque country at that time. And I'm talking about left backs because in the past we have had players in that position that were clearly not top flight level, but they have to play for Athletic Club Bilbao because they were the only ones left. But as I said before, it's a double-edged thing because the commitment of the players is terrific, and I will say that in this squad easily 15 or 20 players were Athletic Club Bilbao fans from from the day they were born. So Athletic is doing very well this season. I think that even the games that they lost could have gone either way. Not the last one against Barcelona in the Super Cup, not the game against Barcelona in the league, but the defeat against Girona was a very deceptive one, because I believe that Athletic missed 3 penalties in that game. And against Atlético de Madrid, Atlético just won in the last minute with a goal from Correa, I believe. But, it could have been different as well, because that game, Athletic Club Bilbao was getting the better of Atlético de Madrid, but they just couldn't convert their chances. So the season could have been even better for Athletic Club Bilbao from that perspective, because 2 games they have lost, they could have easily won them as well.
One thing I have noticed as well, having a look at all the results from this season, is that Athletic Club, while they are clearly a team that is very well organized, they don't concede a lot of goals, but they don't seem to score all that many goals either. I think there's in total 2 matches in the whole season in which they scored 3 or more goals. One was against Elfsborg in the Europa League, and the other game that was, let me check, I think it was against Espanyol. So other than that, they have scored maximum 2 goals per game. What is the reason behind that, you think?
I think that Athletic Club Bilbao doesn't have any footballer who hits normally 20 goals per season. The likes of Iñaki Williams, Nico, Guruceta, and to a lesser extent Sancet or Berenguer are footballers who can score, but normally their numbers don't go any higher than 12 or 13 goals per season in a good season. So that must be, or that could be, one of the explanations to that. I also think that Athletic is a team that dominates, but then doesn't particularly destroy opponents, and it's not only down to the quality of the footballers, but I also believe that there is something more structural in there. Perhaps Athletic Club Bilbao, since they know that they are playing in 3 competitions this season, or 4 if we count the Super Cup that is gone, maybe Ernesto Valverde is asking the players not to make the extra effort to score the 3rd or the 4th goals in games that are already controlled, because the season is going to be very long and the squad of Athletic Bilbao is good, yes, but it's not super deep, or it's not as deep as some other clubs. So there is a level of calculation in all this by Athletic, I believe. Some games could have been won by a bigger margin, but I believe that Athletic has been very cautious with subbing Nico Williams in the right time, subbing or Jan Sancet, a player who is prone to injury, whenever the game was won. So there is a little bit of a calculation by Ernesto Valverde too.
Yeah, and then, well, you talked about Ernesto Valverde there, of course, the coach. He's been at the club, I think this is his 3rd stint at the club. Is that correct? Or is it his 4th stint?
The 3rd stint, yeah.
The 3rd stint at the club.
As a manager.
And yeah, indeed. And then, of course, he had a very successful double stint with Olympiacos, winning 2 titles there. He was also at Barcelona for a while and won 2 La Liga titles there, I believe. A very successful coach, but he keeps going back to the nest, so to speak. And you just alluded to it, that maybe the reason for that Athletic doesn't really push through, or maybe takes their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, is the consideration of multiple competitions, with Athletic Club already being qualified for the next round and essentially being guaranteed a top 8 spot. Do you think there's a possibility that perhaps they will not take the Beşiktaş game as seriously as they would have otherwise? And would they perhaps rest players like an Iñaki Williams, like Nico Williams, or like any of those young studs that they have?
There is a chance, yes, because January in Spain is a very congested month when it comes to the football calendar. Athletic Club Bilbao will play, for example, against Osasuna in the next round of the Cup, and that game is going to be nervy, it's going to be difficult, and very physical as well. Then Celta, then Beşiktaş, then Leganés, then Victoria Pilsen, all in the second half of the month. So there is a chance that if Athletic is already qualified among the top 8, because this is important, the top 8 is the target, not qualifying per se, but the top 8. Ernesto Valverde starts rotating a little bit the squad. Then there are players who are coming from injuries, like the likes of Jan Sanzet, Nico Williams has had a few injury issues as well. So I don't think that Ernesto Valverde is gonna risk the health of those players coming into February.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the manager, Ernesto Valverde. He's 60 years old. He's very experienced, very successful. How would you describe him as a coach? What type of football philosophy does he have? What type of football does he have his team play regularly?
Just very simple. I mean, if we have to divide the managers between defensive and offensive, Ernesto Valverde is one of the offensive ones, even though he is not ultra offensive or he is not naive in the sense that the team rarely loses the structure. Athletic Club Bilbao is playing with 3 forwards right now, 1 center forward and 2 wingers, and then 2 holding midfielders and 1 with a little bit more of freedom to attack, like Jan Sanzet. So you can say that there are 4 players in the lineup that are naturally attacking footballers or footballers who have an eye in the opponent's goal. And I believe that Ernesto Valverde is one of those managers that the players respect everywhere he goes. He's a manager that has achieved results everywhere. At Olympiacos, they love him. You go to Athens, and Ernesto Valverde is a legend among Olympiacos fans. Then at Barcelona, he was inches away from completing an unbeaten season in La Liga in his first season, which tells you that he knows how to keep the players pepped and focused. But what I will say is that the most important thing is that the players respect him a lot. He is not a manager who shouts, who imposes his authority by inflicting fear around him. No, I think that he imposes his authority from his calm and his charm, and it worked wonders for him all throughout his career. I think that this third stint of Athletic Club Bilbao, of Ernesto Valverde at Athletic Club Bilbao, has been really successful. He won already a cup, and there is a certain vibe in Bilbao that this season there is a big chance of winning the Europa League, and there is an anticipation to that because the final is in Bilbao.
Yeah, is that a really big goal for the club? Is
Yes.
that something they are putting all their chips on, so to speak?
I think that maybe the message Athletic is sending out is always, let's go game by game, let's qualify for the Champions League as well, let's make sure that we never lose the focus, no matter how big or small the opponent we're going to play against is. But I think that if you zoom out and you see the big picture, there are expectations about this Europa League. Being eliminated in the last 16 or the quarter-final round will be a very big disappointment because, yes, I wouldn't say that the season has been built around winning the Europa League, but there is a big focus on the Europa League, that's for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about their players. Of course, everybody knows the Williams brothers, but you can, of course, tell us a little bit more about them as well, how their seasons are going. Nico Williams is somebody that has been touted to be highly on the wish list of a lot of Europe's elites, especially he's been linked repeatedly with Barcelona, but of course they have their own financial issues. But given the restrictions that Athletic Club impose on themselves, how important is it for them to keep guys like Nico and Iñaki Williams, and how likely do you see a potential transfer, for example, for Nico, who is very young, of course, and everyone's pulling at his sleeves, everyone wants him. Do you see him staying much longer with Athletic Club? And what can you tell us about some of the other key players?
Well, big question. I think that it's difficult that Nico Williams will complete a full career at Athletic Club Bilbao. I think that there is a chance, though, that Iñaki Williams plays for Athletic Club Bilbao until he retires or until he is older. He's old, that's for sure. But with Nico, it's a different case. He's still very young, and Barcelona wanted him last summer, and I believe that he's going to be quite coveted for for many years, so it's going to be difficult to keep him, that's for sure. His contract runs out on 2026, I believe, so maybe this summer the club tries to sign him again. But the player is calm, the player doesn't talk about his future. I believe that his brother Iñaki is his counselor, basically, so Nico Williams won't make any silly move. Even when Barcelona tried to sign him this summer, Nico Williams had never a bad attitude with Athletic Club de Bilbao. He kept on training, he didn't speak much, he did his job. So, whatever is done with Nico Williams, I think is going to be done in civilized terms. And if he leaves, hopefully he will leave as a club legend. With Iñaki Williams, he's a very important footballer for the team. This season, actually, Iñaki has played slightly better than Nico, mainly because Nico have had many problems with injuries, whereas Iñaki has always been there. He's always available. I mean, he barely misses any game. And from some other players that people don't know about, I will say that maybe the best footballer of Athletic Club Bilbao, if you ask fan by fan, they will tell you that is Ollán Sánchez, a player that doesn't get so spoken about, a player who doesn't play for Spain that much because he will have to compete with Pedri and Dani Olmo for a position, and those players are too good for Ollán Sánchez. But Ollán Sánchez is the footballer that can make things happen. He is a high-scoring midfielder, he gives a lot of assists, and he is an accelerator of the game. Every time he gets the ball, he runs forward, and he's very fast, he's very powerful. So from the position of midfield, he's capable of having an impact on games. Remember the name, Ollán Sánchez, he's very good. Right now he's injured, but he should be back training and all that in 3-4 days. So hopefully he will complete the next of the month, the rest of the month. And then of course the goalkeeper Unai Simón, he is back after having missed football until December, and he is one of those footballers that Athletic needs because he's the club captain. And in defense, I would like to single out Vivian. Vivian is a very good defender. He has already played for Spain a few very high-profile games, like for example the semi-final against France in the Euro 2024. And yeah, those are probably the best players. Both Williams, Ollán Sánchez, Unai Simón, and Dani Vivian.
Okay, well, that's a lot of players to watch out for, but of course we already knew that going in with a fantastic season they're having already, Athletic. I mean, they're in a very impressive 4th place in La Liga right now as well, only a couple of points shy of Barcelona, and even there they still have, I think, good chances to maybe have a serious upset maybe in La Liga this season. How high are the hopes for that, for a potential Primera División title?
I think that talking about the title is a little bit of a utopia for Athletic Club Bilbao. Of course, as I said before, internally the message the club sends out outside is that they will go game by game and they will focus just on the next game and all that. I think that the ultimate target will be qualifying for the Champions League and winning the Europa League, which, by the way, would give access to the Champions League anyway. But talking about the league title maybe is too much. Let's not forget that Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atlético de Madrid have had good starts of the season. Somehow, Madrid, despite having a bad start, they collected 43 points. Atletico, despite having a bad start, collected a few more than Real Madrid. And Barcelona had a terrific start, and now they are a little bit in a dip of form when it comes to the league. But those teams have been decent, and there is potential for the 3 of them to keep on improving. Whereas I don't think that Athletic Club Bilbao can catch with the pace of those 3 teams.
Worth pointing out to our listeners or our viewers that Athletic did actually beat Real Madrid this season in Bilbao. So I mean, that happens more often, of course, because their home reputation, it's like a fortress. But of course, this will be an away match, which is in Beşiktaş's advantage. But given our current form, I don't know if that makes much of a difference. Let's talk a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses then to close things out, because obviously a very impressive side, very stable. Like I said, don't concede a lot of goals, don't score super many either, but like you said, that might be a tactical decision almost. what would you say are the biggest strengths of Athletic, and then maybe something where Beşiktaş could find a weakness to exploit?
The biggest strengths will be obviously playing at home. It's been always like this, but at San Mamés, Athletic Club Bilbao has a very special connection with the ground. Then I think that Athletic Club Bilbao has a lot of intensity when they play. That's why I was telling you before that the fact that they haven't scored that many goals this season could be down to the fact that when the game is wrapped up, Ernesto Valverde starts doing changes because he wants to keep that level of the intensity for the whole season, not only for this period of the season. So you will be playing at home, intensity, then the quality of two players like Sancet and Nico Williams, and the defensive solidity with Dani Vivian, Paredes, and Unai Simon, three footballers who are international footballers for Spain, and that bring that solid backbone that Athletic needs. And when it comes to the weaknesses, I would say that there are not that many, but sometimes I feel that if Unai Ollán Sancet is not playing, Athletic Club Bilbao is missing a little bit of quality on the pitch, because his replacement, Unai Gomez, is a footballer with a lot of intensity, physicality, but Athletic needs the spark of Ollán Sancet, a player who is not always available. So I would say that among the weaknesses is the physical condition of two key footballers like Nico Williams and Ollán Sancet. Both have had niggling injuries throughout the season, and that obviously is something that weakens Athletic Club Bilbao.
Well, it's going to be a very tough game for Beşiktaş on the 22nd of January. This game will be played for us, Álvaro, quite early on Wednesday afternoon. For me, it'll be 16:30. I think for you there in London, 15:30. So it's a very early match. In Istanbul, it will be 18:30. Still quite early. Unfortunately, that will probably impact the turnout as well in the stadium, as a lot of people will still be coming back from work and stuff like that. Thank you very much, Álvaro, for giving us your insights of a team that I had even beforehand when we were all still being super optimistic. This was one of those matches. I think this one and the Lyon one were the two games I was most quote-unquote afraid for. We won the Lyon one somehow. I don't have a great feeling about this one, unfortunately, though. But thank you very much. Can our watchers or our listeners, can they find you somewhere on social media? What do you have going on? Any socials you'd like to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me on Twitter. They just have to write Álvaro_Romeo, and I'll be there. And there are plenty of samples of my work and my opinions in there. So if you are interested, go for it. And yeah, every time or any time you want to speak about Athletic Club Bilbao, I'm more than happy to do it. Hopefully we'll meet you in the final.
Maybe another time, not this year, I think. But I wish you guys all the best. It would be fantastic to see Athletic Club in the final in their own stadium, where they are, of course, always capable of a little bit more. So Beşiktaş won't be making it, but I am keeping my fingers crossed for Athletic Club this season. It would be a fantastic story for you guys. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, Álvaro. And thank you, of course, for listening as well, or watching, of course, on YouTube. To this episode, our preview for the Europa League upcoming game against Athletic Club. It will be a tough one. Beşiktaş will at least need a point, and then they would still have to win their last game against Twente, because 3 points will more than likely not be enough. So 4 points would basically secure Beşiktaş qualification to that next round, but we all know that the possibility of that isn't great. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you all for watching. Bye bye.